Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another live Q&A. You've been showing up for me recently with these at least once a week, and I really appreciate you doing that and being willing to sit with me and learn from Lilith and Hillel and go deeper. So I will give everybody a chance to join and just kind of settle in. Did you guys have a good Labor Day weekend? All right, so this was on my heart this morning, and I had about 20, 25 minutes to kind of come here and discuss it because I was kind of in the middle of my process and have been for a little while with writing, and it always starts in the morning in my head when I'm just kind of feeling into the day, and something came across my threshold that involved acceptance, because there's a process, and all of these technologies are emotional technologies, and it's everything that both Lilith and Hillel teach. They teach forgiveness as a technology, compassion as a technology. These are tools. Why do I list emotions as tools as they're teaching through me? Because we are here for emotional mastery. We are here to master the heart. Everything we do goes back to that. Ego works as a tool to give us creative choice, to be our aid. But there's a misperception that's rampant in the human collective, in society, because it's conditioned deeply into us. From the moment, we're taught to be, good or bad, being quiet and being good in school equals, you're a good person. Your identity is conditioned into you. From the moment you're old enough to talk, from the moment you're old enough to understand conditioning, you begin to understand judgment. And because you understand that first, judgment is a head thing. It's a discernment tool that actually helps you, because it helps you with creative discernment based upon oneness. So when you bring oneness into creative choices, that is creative discernment. And when you start out thinking that you are a mind, that you're a body, that you are a psychological or a physiological construct, and that is what you are, based upon conditioning, because everyone has it, then it's easy to build your whole creative existence and experiencing based upon judgment and fear. But if that could be forgiven, if that whole concept of that conditioning can be forgiven, and that happens because of compassion. Compassion is the technology that is the bridge of consciousness that allows you to forgive. And going beyond that, you begin to perceive that you are here not by some collective higher being that grasped you out of the ether and said, get down there to earth and do your work, being of love and light. Get down there in these horrible dregs and do a great job. In other words, you are here by choice. Did the conditions that you were conditioned into, sorry for the double entendre there, did you choose those? That's likely not. No one in their right, sane mind would choose depression, cancer, poverty, war, etc. You don't consciously choose that. But here's the tool that can help you understand that even though you, in and of the mind and the body, did not consciously choose circumstances, you hold a deeper mastery to be able to powerfully connect to life in a loving way. And that is called acceptance. Acceptance is not rolling over and playing dead. Acceptance is not, just throwing in the towel and saying, I surrender to all this hard stuff that's making me miserable. Acceptance isn't saying, well, you're letting ego win and saying, you know what, I'm in pain right now, therefore it's probably forever going to be that way, and it's forever going to feel bad. The truth is, you don't know that. And to accept what you do not know will be the greatest form of relief and peace and return to the truth of who you are that you could possibly ever experience or remember. So, at the crux of everything that Halal and Lilith teach is something that they call the great forgetting. And I don't hear it very often. I hear other terms like in ACIM. I heard Halal, come through Yeshua and say the term the great undoing. And he had been saying that to me since around age 5. And then I met a powerful author in spirit. He passed over last February, of 2018. And he was standing by Halal. And I read one of his books because it was required reading in high school. And he came through standing by Halal and he used the term the great forgetting. And I thought to myself, where have I heard that term before? And of course, the author is Daniel Quinn, for those of you who are curious. Every book is a channeling of Halal, straight up from the beginning to the end in my experience as a channel. If you really want to get to some deep work, there you have it. But you have to overlook that author's human tendency to overdo the dramatization of how bad the world is. And if you can get through that and not let that catch you, oneness teachers, you're gonna get a different version of a Halal channeling. Just giving you all my inside tips here on the various beings that I've seen Halal and Lilith work through. So acceptance is when you can say, okay, I may not have created a horrible circumstance for myself, but I can choose to admit that I don't know the past, that I don't know what these circumstances are for, and I can choose my power by saying that I do accept who I am and the power of who I am and my capacity to choose love in every perceivably terrible circumstance, right? So, with that being said, acceptance is the topic, and I'm open to all topics. So let's get on with your questions. We have about 20 minutes. Who was the author? Channeling Halal, but didn't know it. It was Daniel Quinn. He passed last February. So, yeah, it's incredible. He's incredible. Let's look. I think I have a question coming in already. Well, I did, but you guys type so fast. Is Lilith connected to Satan and the fallen angels? Satan is, according to Hillel, Satan is a job title, and it is not Satan a being. The title is called the Satan. So that is a job title. And what does that job do? It gives you choice to judge something as good or bad. And when that happens, you get what's called the creative experience of being in a body. Also, Hillel is saying there's no such option as above or below or ascended or fallen. Those are really misperceptions of everything that you experienced. You can't ascend. You're already as high as possible in spirit. Spirit, where is spirit going to go? Where are you going to go? When you understand that you are not a psychological or physiological construct, there's nowhere to fall and there's nowhere to ascend. Those are all human stories of good, bad, risen, fallen. Do you see the paradigm that Hillel is trying to help you break there? Yeah. So those are stories, not truths, but human stories to give you options to perceive something as fallen or ascended. Am I going to be doing more channeling, Eric? Yeah, I absolutely hope so. I've been given an invitation to do that regularly, and I'm waiting on Elisa to return. She's traveling right now, and when she returns, we're going to be discussing what's good for her schedule and mine, and you'll be seeing me channeling regularly there to help out. You notice that I will still work as a colleague with people to help them in their path. I have no problem doing that, and I channel beings all across the board when people connect to me privately. So as a colleague, I would absolutely love to help channeling Eric in any way possible, and likely will, if the invitation is still there. From what I understand, as of just a couple of weeks ago, it is still there. So I'm just waiting to talk about schedules with her. But that will be on her site, not mine. On my site, I have to focus in. And about private things, you mean behind the scenes? Yeah. Yeah. I don't like to receive money for channeling Eric. So what I plan to do is just go to channelingeric.com and answer your questions for free there. If you would like to donate to Elisa instead, then I could fully support that. But I really, when it comes to Eric, I don't like to receive money. When it comes to channeling other beings that you want and that you know me for, you can do that privately just at PamelaAaralyn.com. But publicly, the focus is this. How do we accept the pain of others? Gosh, you guys are answering questions that actually Halal is stepping in to answer a little bit more than Lilith today. So you're getting a good bit of both. His answer to you is perceive that there isn't an other. Let's start there by correcting that misperception. Lilith says there is a reflection of you in an incarnated form, and when you perceive that separation is true, you withhold yourself if you fear it. And if you are perceiving that they are suffering, then you are in fear of something. Pain is a creative experience that they have chosen, and when you can perceive the truth that they have chosen such pain, the technology that helps you is presence and compassion. You are not meant to relieve pain, you are meant to relieve suffering. Pain is a chosen tool, and you cannot relieve a powerful, creative being. You cannot take a choice away from God, she says. But you can hold a space of compassion. Compassion bridges her experience with yours and yours with hers. And when two or more are gathered together, you know what happens. Peace. The perception that something requires healing, that creative story is then honored, and thereby a healing occurs. Compassion is the technology that helps. You are here to be helpful with compassion, with acceptance, and when necessary, with forgiveness. How do we choose the shift from poverty? What does that shift look like in our lives? She says, can you change your mind? Can you also influence by understanding that you are the other 7.5 billion beings on this planet? How many of them are experiencing suffering from poverty? Can your compassion bridge it? Can you change your mind enough to perceive and then receive only love, only acceptance of what is? You have a bit of a faulty perception at play in the mind, in the psychological constructs, and she points to the head. When you perceive that there is something that you're lacking, when you perceive lack, it creates more and more and more, and thereby it becomes painfully true in a creative environment, in your world. Can you back up from those false thoughts? Because you are making them more true the more you perceive yourself to be in poverty. And then go about the change of mind, starting with you. Poverty is a massive collective mindset based upon a misperception of lack. Can you clarify by helping point your focus with the technology of gratitude? Can you take this lack-based focus and turn it around? Can you simply choose again? Can you change your mind by focusing on what you are grateful for? What is your definition of what is opposite of lack? What is your definition of abundance? And why has society merely perceived that this lack has to do with something that requires paper to fix? Paper cannot be the fix. Water, food, these are primary establishments that are natural to humanity, but have been taken. And when you leave the finest resources that the plant has to offer, you worry about selling your soul to the devil, as you will, if you call it. You worry about potentially being in the realm of bad. Can you be more concerned at this point that you've allowed a faulty conditioned system to take away your power? Can you be more concerned at this point that you've lost the essence of you and effectively you have joined that belief that you can sell yourself to a society where you must work yourselves to the bone for food and water, because that is essentially what you're doing. It is not about the paper that supports the food and the water in an insane conditioned society to begin with. It is not about that. It is about the fact that food and water are plentiful on your lands and you have forgotten it. That you have forgotten more deeply the natural law of the universe in which you live and submitted and basically rolled over dead, given up your power to systems instead. And then you wonder why it occurs that drug addiction, all addictions, poverty, wars, violence, and crime are falling apart at the root of your culture. This is because you have given rise to forgetting the power of who you are by submitting your power to unnatural laws. You forget universal law and you forget the natural law of your land, which provides you natural access to food and water. And you hand over your power to a system in the pursuit of paper. This is powerful to change the minds of an entire conditioned collective. But you must start here within yourself. What are you grateful for? Where is your power? And where is your pain? Perceive where both come from and that they both come from within. It's when the pain becomes suffering because of perception of lack that you turn to systems that are corrupt, that you turn to conditioned systems that are falling apart. Start by changing one mind at a time, your own, one heart at a time, your own, and then perhaps spread the message to another like-minded soul. Plant a seed in another soul that does not wish to hear the message to begin with. Do what you will, but start somewhere and understand who you are and understand how you forgot who you were. What is the difference between pain and suffering? I only have a few more minutes. Pain is the natural part of an overstimulated nervous system. Pain is a warning that you are forgetting yourself. And you can breathe, and the breath returns you to yourself. And it is simple as that. What belief system is conditioned that is beginning to cause pain? Pain is a warning sign similar to being on a massive superhighway. She shows me this highway with lanes everywhere. There are directions, and if you were to turn around and go in the other direction with cars coming straight at you, and you did not perceive the warning signs, the red lights, and the signs saying wrong way, then there would be suffering, perhaps the crash, the impact point. There are many signs along the way that would help you understand that you are simply missing the part of your eternal contracts. They didn't begin, they didn't end, they are eternal and infinite. You perceive pain along the way when you are missing the mark and straying from your designed course. And if you are feeling that, your breath begins to catch in your throat. You hold your breath. You begin to panic. You begin to feel, as you call it, emotionally off center. And you say to yourself, something isn't quite right. I don't quite feel myself in this moment. Why do I feel off in this moment? Because you have forgotten the basics of breath. You have forgotten the basics of choosing love from the moment you awaken in your day. And your day starts out that way. So choose again. Be aware of what emotion is present that is causing you to miss the mark in your path of love. And choose again. Breathe and choose again. So the emotions are erratic, to answer your question, when you are erratically swaying from your path of love, when you are perceiving separation, when you are perceiving pain, when you are, and here are some guidelines. If your reference point for a loving choice is based upon fear of not being safe, fear of something going wrong, when you are anticipating, you are terrified of the future. When you are claiming that you are being emotionally proactive, you are terrified of the past. Either reference point is insane. You cannot be fully present in the love of the now when you're learning and your reference points are based upon what you learned even just yesterday, even just a moment ago, much less the buildup of conditioned patterns that occur throughout your years. There was a lot of pain and missing of the mark that you have conditioned as being separate from God, being alone, being abandoned, being betrayed, being wrong in any way. And of course, when we compare that to the reference point of the brain's conditions of right and wrong, then that would be true. And then you would cause that to suffer. You would cause yourself to suffer if you believe that creative truth. When you understand how not to suffer, you may begin to cease any thoughts that refer to the past or the future that cause suffering. We understand in a creative environment that you must plan, that you must be proactive, but not based upon what you learned in the past and not based upon what you anticipate in the future, because those are insane programs that no longer work. And this is why your culture at the root is dying. We want to remember and help you remember who you are, and to remember a culture that thrived, to remember a way of living on this planet where food and water were plentiful, where you did not spend every incessant moment worrying about how to pay off things that won't exist in spirit: cars, houses, health insurance plans, and retirement plans. Is it perceivable that you want to be proactive? Of course. But when you do so based upon fear, it's not rational. It's not sane. Okay. We have about 3 more minutes, so I'll take one more question. Yeah, we're going to have them coming through a little bit later this week. Again, Helen Keller, before I made this decision to stop pulling in personalities, I had a full schedule and still do for September on Patreon. She's going to be coming through this week on Patreon, and she is a Lilith fractal. You'll notice that almost all the beings I work with are fractals of Halo or Lilith. And then Seth is teaching a class called the Multiversal Awareness Point, about different dimensions of existence in a parallel way and how to access them, how to understand when we're accessing. So that's going to be coming through this week on Patreon as well. How to forgive exes. It's something that Lilith Halley advises all the time, the concept of the Ho'oponopono when put into practice. So that's lifting your ex and the situation of which you both are a part, because there is a common denominator in any ex. And she says, It is you. So when you lift yourself and that X into the higher realms, and this is how I do that in my specific process. And there's another being out there who I love very much who shares this process very effectively. She calls it the God bubble. But I just imagine an entire plane of existence. Kelly does it by imagining the God bubble. So when you visualize that, or in my case, I call this higher awareness or higher plane of existence, and I create what I envision to be like my safe place. I have plenty of them. Currently, my favorite one is like a big tropical waterfall, and I can hear the water rushing. So I put myself and the person that I would be wanting to forgive there, and I sing to them. I sing to them, I'm sorry, forgive me. I thank you, I love you. And when I do that, I think about, I'm sorry. So how am I sorry? I'm sorry for the ways that I could have possibly caused their suffering without my awareness, and any ways that I've caused their suffering with my awareness. I'm sorry for the ways that they've caused my suffering, that they know of and that they don't. I'm sorry for the entire circumstance that was created that caused pain and suffering for both of us to begin with. That includes what we know and what we don't. I thank them for being my teacher in that scenario, because there must be a powerful lesson there, right? There must be. There always is. I'm just giving you my short version of Ho'oponopono. Forgive me for that. Thank you. I love you. It's kind of hard to say when someone has hurt you or you perceive that someone has hurt you. But the more you say it, the more you realize that a person can't perceivably hurt you unless you have allowed to some level, and you may not allow the circumstances that caused it, and neither one of you might be fully aware. So what about the awareness point that you just don't know? There's always something that we don't know about that. So when you're trying to forgive someone, keep that in mind, that you don't know everything, and neither does that person. And if they have created a painful circumstance in your life, it is something beyond your awareness and theirs. They are trying to defend themselves. There's only two truths: love and a call to love. If they hurt you, they need more love, right? So, all right, I really have to go now. I love you guys very much. And I'll see you for the Multiversal Awareness Point class channeled through Seth on Wednesday. I'm sorry, that's actually Helen Keller, channeling Helen Keller and Lilith on Wednesday, and channeling Seth and Halal on Thursday. So I'll see you guys for that. And I think we have a live Q&A as well. They're all scattered throughout the week. We have one of those things, live Q&A with both of them this week as well. And I'll see you next week for another one of these. And I'm just kind of, you'll notice I also put another Lilith class up. It's called Judgment Detox. I did it quite a bit ago. And it was a powerful, powerful Patreon class with a lot of specific techniques in there about why judgment causes pain. And what she has to teach about it is not, oh my gosh, stop judging. It's a completely different awareness point of, how is judgment helpful? When is it helpful and when isn't it? And how to notice the difference. So I loved the class, and I hope you will love it too. I just put it up underneath this one in the video list, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be blessed.